Ley lines are electromagnetic pipes that guide the energy from the Earth to all the places they reach. It's very similar to how the body works, and that's why so many people think that there's a direct connection between the two. One such example is the fact that both the energy coursing through these lines and the energy in our bodies is of an electromagnetic nature. That's why so many feel like these lines correspond to the way that veins and arteries work in a body. There's also the foundation of some healing practices, such as chakra alignment or acupressure. The practitioners of these therapies consider that they can heal anybody by redistributing the energy that's flowing through their body and sending it where it has to go.
You begin to realize these energy grids or these lines of force not only are on the planet, but they're also in the human body. The human body itself, if you look at the acupuncture grid, the energy meridians that go through the human body for acupuncture, you discover that these same energy grids or these same points of force and energy are also in the human body. And the human body functions off of also what? Electromagnetism.
There's a strong link between the human body and ley lines is by using these lines while hiking. These people are convinced that if some animals can use these lines and the electromagnetic signature of the Earth to guide themselves, then so can they. They even believe that walking from one knot to another will reconnect them better with their true nature. Some even advocate doing these walks barefoot in order to better connect to the ground. Although there isn't that much scientific proof to back these claims up, those who do this swear by this technique and encourage others to try it. A carefully arranged network of lines running all around the Earth. These are called ley lines.
When you start to map out the locations of where these pyramids are located on the planet, all of a sudden you start to realize that there are these things called ley lines.
And they have been considered by many over the centuries as the equivalent of veins and arteries of the planet. That's because they transport energy all over it and make sure that this energy is balanced.
Tune into this energy that's coming from the stones and ask for your rods. You see, and there we go. Now, are you doing that, or has that done it by itself?
It's done it by itself.
There we are.
But just like any network, it has certain points where the lines cross. You will see that these are places where ancient temples or other sacred structures are built. And some of them are quite famous, from the Great Pyramid of Giza to Stonehenge, and from Teotihuacan to Borobudur in Java. You will find that almost every major ritualistic construction is situated on a ley line. But how did the ancients know about these? Who helped them build their monuments with such precision? And why did they build them in the first place? Although they've been around for practically the age of the Earth, ley lines may not be something everybody's familiar with. These lines are called so because of the people that promoted them. The term was coined back in the 1920s, when Alfred Watkins started promoting the idea that these lines were actually trading routes used by people that lived in Britain a very long time ago. But his idea didn't really catch on that quickly. Granted, a version of his idea first emerged in the mid-1800s, and again about 10 years before Atkins in Germany. Each of these ideas proposed that one could connect each important monument or historical site to the rest of them using a continuous straight line. That's because they were built in specific locations to make traveling and guidance easier. It wasn't until the 1960s that the idea really caught some grip and started amassing support from around the world. Writers, scientists, researchers, scholars, and even regular people started believing more and more in the ley line theory and even started to search for evidence to support it. It turns out that there are a lot of things that check out when you start doing the research and putting things together. There's a lot of speculation regarding why the pyramids and other monuments and sacred sites were built where they were. Some say that their locations have nothing to do with ley lines, but simply with the surroundings. But that doesn't really add up. That's because some of them are built in really hard-to-reach places, and moving any building materials would have been quite difficult. Also, some of these sites are so remote that only the ones that live around them would know about them. So there has to be another explanation for building them where they are today.
But I've been to a lot of pyramids, and when you start to map out the locations of where these pyramids are located on the planet, all of a sudden you start to realize that there are these things called ley lines, and that the pyramids are sitting on these specific nodes on the planet Earth, along with other incredible ancient temples and ancient stones and megalithic structures. So you have to ask yourself, why would they do this? Why are these things in these specific locations? Why did they direct themselves towards one another? What is the purpose of building them on these specific locations and spots?
They were purposely built on ley lines all over the world. People knew from way back then that these lines and the points in which they meet were packed with a lot of energy. So they created ways of harnessing and channeling that energy. Basically, this means that these monuments are nothing more than large receivers or antennas. This way, energy can come up from the earth and down from the sky above.
They themselves, the pyramids, were crazy energy accumulators and distributors. Mechanical, thermal, electric, magnetic, nuclear, and even chemical. There was so much going on within these, and there was a whole system.
Ley lines, and especially the places where they cross, are portals, or special locations that can be used to communicate with entities from another world, or even transport matter from one place to another. Some believe that the monuments weren't even built by people, but by members of ancient civilizations that had superior knowledge and technology on their side. This way, they could always have a way of communicating with others, and also know where on the globe they are at any time. People are just sort of the caretakers of these portals, and get to use them in order to communicate and ask and receive information through them.
Well, they were able to create a grid of meridians on the planet, or put structures on the meridian grids of the planet, and then transmit wireless electricity, maybe even sound, maybe even photo or video. We don't know the level of technology, but we do know sound for sure. There are so many accounts in ancient texts from around the world where different rulers and leaders that have been put into power, whether it be pharaohs, whether it be kings, whether it be different types of sages, get information from talking stones.
There's still a lot of people out there that don't want information like this getting out, and even those that might think that the whole thing is just a stunt to drum up tourists for these sites. But that is certainly not the case. That's because these ley lines were known in ancient times and are represented in various texts that have been uncovered since. These texts usually talk about Earth's energy coursing through different areas of the planet and the people that can see it. They also mention things like giants and supernatural encounters that people had. And this is one of the reasons why these lines aren't more popular among people nowadays. Some find it hard to understand such things and accept the existence of such phenomena. The existence of ley lines is something more spiritual and connected to the faith aspect of the whole thing. Ley lines are a part of this planet and have been used by people from almost every period of time. They carry a huge amount of energy and also help people figure out where they have to go. These lines have been the subject of many controversies over the years, but still, there are those that will believe in them and in the power that they have, and so they still hold an important part in many people's lives. Also, ley lines have been used by certain people for the most part of history, either to communicate with their deities, to focus the vital energy of the planet where they need it, or simply to map out where the next shrine or temple should be built. Without too much interest from the mainstream culture, the ley lines issue will remain a marginal one. Without too much interest from the mainstream culture.